Brad, welcome back. We are so happy to have you back with us again. You had a pretty big case this week out on the West Coast, and I want you to tell us what happened out there that we all ought to be happy about.
Oh, yes. I tell you, Mike, it was a major case, dealing with a Christian boarding school. Now, this Christian boarding school has been there for over 20 years, helping boys and girls get their schooling and their lives in line, and yet they were attacked. First, the state of California came in and had a raid because of because of an article, a 10-year-old story that appeared in BuzzFeed.
Oh, yeah. I call it buzzard feed.
Yes, buzzard feed. So that's all they had. They got a judge to give a warrant for a total raid. So you had 16 troops coming in with 2 canine units, more than a dozen social workers, raided the place looking for guns, ammunition, whatever. Didn't find anything. And instead of apologizing, the state of California, the Department of Social Services, said, oh no, we're going to double down. We're going to file a lawsuit and we're going to shut you down. So they filed a motion for preliminary injunction to shut them down because they said, you're technically really a community care facility, not really a school, a boarding school. And they know that if they became a community care facility, then they would have to meet the state standard, which has to allow them, forces them to allow the students to engage in full sexual exploration with relationships.
And how old are these kids?
Oh, all the way down to kindergarten. So
unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and yet that's the mindset. That's how they run their schools, the state of California. They want to shut down, not just this boarding school, they want to shut down, the state of California wants to shut down every single Christian boarding school that does not adopt to their social worldview and values, which goes totally against a Christian biblical worldview perspective.
So it's not about tolerance, it's about intolerance of views that do not subscribe to a more modernistic approach.
Right.
Is that the long-term agenda, that it's not about tolerance, coexistence, that you believe what you want to believe, I believe what I want to believe, we get along, we live in the same community, which has always, to me, been fair. I don't care if other people want to live their lives differently than me. They should have every right to do that.
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about shutting down a view that does not adhere to one point of view.
Well, let me give you an actual case that we had this year. It was in Wisconsin, okay, not California, Wisconsin, Dupere, Wisconsin. They passed an ordinance telling churches that they must comply with public accommodation, meaning that if they if they hire someone, they can't have beliefs or values. Say a minister, they can't say, well, minister, you have to comply with our value and definition of marriage. If you go and marry someone of the same gender, then you can't work here. Well, they say, if you do that, we're going to shut your church down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. And it also applied to a Christian radio station that we defended as well. We went into court, we filed a motion for an injunction, and we prevailed. And the judge said, not only does this violate the state constitution, this violates the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment as well, the Religious Freedom Clause. So it was a wonderful success. But do you know what happened? After this passed, other towns in Wisconsin had already passed this. This was already spreading. And this was in Wisconsin, okay, not Seattle or New York City. So people need to realize how real this is. And that's why we at Pacific Justice Institute are committed to taking on every single one of these cases. We're very unique. We don't just take on a certain case here or there. We work hard to make sure everyone gets help, because all it takes is one of these fires to continue, and then it'll spread. Another case, San Rafael, talking about taxes.
Yeah.
They issued, this is near San Francisco, it's part of the explanation. San Rafael decided to issue a property tax against all churches and synagogues. And but they called it a per square foot building usage fee. So we went into court and we said, Your Honor, that's a property tax. And the judge realized that there's no limit on what they could tax if they get away with this. This little Baptist church, Valley Baptist Church, had to come up with $13,000 or the city was going to shut their doors permanently. We went into court, and thank the Lord for this one. The judge said this is unconstitutional, a violation of the state constitution, and it was halted. But if we hadn't halted it, make no mistake, other cities across the country whose city councilmen don't go to church regularly would likely quickly do the same thing to start gaining revenue and punishing churches who have a different worldview.
how can we help Pacific Justice Institute do the job that it does? Because you take on these cases pro bono, you help these people when they otherwise could never afford the legal assistance. How do we help you?
Well, thank you for asking that. We are a nonprofit organization. We do all our work without charge, all of it.
Which is amazing.
So yes, we have a huge network of hundreds of volunteer affiliate attorneys. That helps a considerable degree. So we appreciate attorneys who want to become a part of that team. We have 9 offices now in California. But we're also looking for expanding offices in other cities across the country. So if people say, hey, I'd like to have them come to my town, I think we can make it happen. They should contact us. And also, we're supported by moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas. George Soros, for some reason, doesn't want to give to us. I don't know.
I don't think you want to take his money.
Yeah, no, I don't. But moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, about 140 plus churches, and others, they support our work and as a nonprofit ministry. And of course, we're very, very grateful to anyone who feels led to do so. They can go to our webpage, pacificjustice.org, and support our work. We have a matching grant program right now, gift program taking place. But we also have they can also sign up to get our Legal Insider newsletter, Mike, and it updates them what's going on a weekly basis and something to pray for. Oftentimes, we need prayer support. This case that we just won on, I don't think we would have won had it not been for the prayer support because it was not looking good. So we greatly appreciate both financial as well as prayer support at Pacific Justice Institute.
Thank you for what you're doing, Brad. Let me just tell our audience, if you want to learn more about Brad Dacus and the Pacific Justice Institute's fight to preserve the embattled rights of parents as well as people of faith all over the country, go to pacificjustice.org. You can also listen to Brad's radio show, The Dacus Report. Follow him on Twitter at Pacific Justice.